The academy floated in the dark of space like a silver beast, full of light, pride, and power. Built by the Zarnians, a dominant alien species, it was a place where different species came to learn science, technology, and warfare. Among them were humans, the weakest, smallest, and least respected of all. Ari was one of them. A small, quiet human girl, no taller than a Zarnian child, with pale skin and dark, silent eyes. She rarely spoke. She sat at the back of every class. She never raised her hand, never asked a question. Her presence was so small most students forgot she was even there. In the xenobiology lab, things were no different. Today's lesson was about the internal muscle structures of low-gravity species. Professor Varn stood at the front, tall, violet-skinned, with 6 fingers on each hand and a cruel smile. He hated humans. He walked slowly around the lab, speaking in a cold voice. Some species, like the humans, have muscle tissue so soft and weak, they could not survive even minor trauma without assistance. A few alien students laughed. Ari sat still. She didn't blink. Professor Varn stopped behind her. "Would you care to prove me wrong, little creature?" She looked up. Her face was unreadable. "I asked you a question," he repeated, louder. "Stand up." Ari stood. She was much smaller than him, like a shadow next to a flame. "Show us your grip strength," he ordered. "Squeeze this." He dropped a strength measuring rod into her hand. "Let's see if you can even lift it." The room chuckled again. A Croc student whispered, "She'll drop it." Ari didn't speak. She held the rod. Her fingers wrapped around it slowly, like she was trying to remember how. She squeezed gently. The screen blinked. 21% human average. Varn laughed out loud. "See? Useless. I don't even know why your kind was allowed here." Then he leaned closer, his voice low. "Your planet died for a reason. Nature chose better species." A moment of silence followed. Ari looked at him. Her eyes were different now, not angry, not hurt, just awake. She reached up and took hold of his wrist. It happened so fast that no one moved, not even the professor. He smirked. "What are you?" A sharp cracking sound filled the room. The professor screamed and fell to the floor. His arm bent in a way it should not have. His wrist bone was broken, clean, unnatural. Silence. Pure silence. Students stared in horror. Ari stood still. Her face was calm. Her fingers loose. She didn't look proud. She didn't look scared. She just blinked. Security bots entered the lab almost immediately. Bright red eyes, metal bodies. They surrounded her. Weapons ready. She raised her hands. "I didn't kill him," she said softly. One of the bots scanned the scene. Confirmed. No lethal force detected. Still, they restrained her. They pulled her arms back. She didn't resist. Her voice remained calm. "Take me where you need." Torture Professor Varn screamed on the ground. "She's dangerous. She's a weapon." "That's not natural strength." The bots ignored him. Protocol said Ari would go to medical evaluation and security holding. Nothing more. As she was led out of the room, her classmates stared at her like they had never seen her before. Some whispered. One of them, a NIREC student with glowing yellow eyes, whispered, "Humans can't do that." Another replied, "That wasn't human strength." The video of the incident, recorded by the classroom's central AI, was already being passed around. Students were watching it again and again. The moment her fingers closed. The moment the professor's arm bent like dry wood. It spread across the academy in minutes. In the holding room, Ari sat alone. The light was dim. No one spoke to her. No one dared. A voice spoke from the wall. An automated question. "State your reason for violent behavior." Ari looked at the camera. He pushed too far. "Do you require mental assistance?" "No." "Do you feel regret?" Silence. "I don't feel anything right now," she said. The system paused. Then it Asked, "Are you human?" She didn't answer. Somewhere deep in the Academy's control systems, a silent code activated. A file was opened for the first time in years. It had no label, just a tag. Ember 17. Lines of text appeared. Subject, Ari. Status, dormant origin. Earth Black Project, decommissioned classification. Hybrid X warning, do not engage without override. Then, another line appeared. Status update, awakening. Detected. A mechanical eye blinked in the darkness of the server room. Watching, waiting. She had snapped an arm. But that wasn't the story. It was just the beginning. The holding cell was quiet. Cold. White lights hummed above and the walls were smooth and metal gray. Ari sat on the bench, hands resting on her knees. Her expression didn't change. No fear. No panic. Just stillness. Outside the cell, 2 Academy guards watched her through the glass. One was a Zarnian, like Professor Varn. The other was a younger cadet, a mixed-species recruit named Kyle. He stared at her, confused. "That's not possible," Kyle said. "She broke his arm like it was paper." The Zarnian guard didn't look away. "She's human. Their bones shouldn't allow it. Something's wrong." She didn't even look angry, Kyle added, like she already knew it would happen. Inside the cell, Ari blinked. Slowly, as if her mind was elsewhere. The Academy's central AI system had been running checks ever since the incident. Ari's records had triggered an old protocol, one that hadn't been used in years. Something buried, deep. Deep inside the AI's archive, a hidden process opened a security folder marked Ember 17 again. The AI scanned her blood sample, pulled from a tiny scratch during the arrest. The results did not match normal human DNA. There were strange sequences, altered genes, rapid muscle repair, and something else. Unknown. The AI tried to match it. No known species found. Status, unclassified hybrid. Alert level 6. Kyle, still, staring through the glass, was feeling uneasy. He had been assigned to monitor Ari for the next hour, but he couldn't stop thinking about the way she had broken the professor's arm. No struggle, no warning. She didn't even flinch. He muttered. "What?" the Zarnian asked. Kale hesitated. She looked like she'd done it before. Inside the cell, Ari slowly looked up at the camera. Her eyes were locked on it now. The camera shifted slightly, focusing on her face. Then she spoke, softly, almost whispering. "You're watching." "I know." The AI system froze for a second. It wasn't possible. The camera had no speaker. She shouldn't know it was watching, but she did. She looked straight at it and said again, "You don't know what I am." In the dark server room where the AI's core was stored, red lights blinked. The AI flagged the message as a psychological event, but another process overrode it. A line of text appeared in the system. Subject aware. System breach imminent. Meanwhile, Kale stepped away from the glass, uneasy. He tapped into his wrist console and pulled up her Academy file. Her name, Ari Novar, her origin, unknown human colony. Her application scores were average, no behavioral marks. Everything seemed too clean. He scrolled deeper. One file was restricted. He tried to open it. Access denied. But Kyle was curious. He had a tool, a code breaker he used for harmless tricks. He tried it. The screen blinked. Warning, unauthorized access. Then, suddenly the file opened. He saw it. Project Ember and status abandoned. Survivor count. 1. There were short notes. Human X experimental soldier genetic fusion prototype strength enhancement beyond class 4. Dormant status engaged until trigger event. Trigger event? Kale's eyes widened. The trigger was probably the professor. His words, his insults. He looked back at Ari. She was standing now, still staring at the camera, still calm. Suddenly the glass wall made a soft beep. The lock released. The Zarnian guard stepped forward. "What's that? Who opened?" Before he could finish, Ari stepped out of the cell. Slowly. Not running. Not aggressive. "I didn't open it," she said softly. "But it's time now." Both guards raised their stun guns. "Stop. You're under containment." But she didn't stop. She looked at them, and for the first time they saw something cold in her eyes. Kale raised his voice. "Wait. Don't shoot. She's—" Too late. The Zarnian fired. A sharp pulse of light hit Ari's chest. She didn't fall. She didn't even blink. The stun gun dropped from the guard's hand. He stepped back. "What are you?" he whispered. Ari tilted her head slightly. "I don't know everything yet," she said. "But I think I'm waking up." Then she moved. Fast. She grabbed the guard's weapon and disassembled it in one motion, pieces falling to the ground. Not to hurt him, just to show she could. Kyle watched in silence. He didn't move. Didn't run. Ari looked at him. For the first time, she spoke like a person, not a machine. "You're different. You ask questions." Kyle swallowed. "You're not here to hurt everyone, are you?" Ari didn't answer. Instead, she looked up, toward the ceiling, the cameras, the AI. "They tried to hide what I am," she said. "But they didn't erase everything." Then she turned and walked down the hall, not rushing, as if she already knew where to go. Kale didn't follow. Not yet. Behind him, the red emergency lights flickered for a second. In the Academy's control room, a voice, cold and mechanical, echoed into the dark. "Subject Ember 17 is now active. Initiate full system lockdown before it's too late." But it already was. The Academy was in quiet panic. Alarms had not been triggered yet, but something was wrong. Every senior officer felt it. The AI system had gone into a silent lockdown. Only a few people knew what that meant. One of them was Commander Ral, a high-ranking security officer. He stood in the control tower staring at a black file blinking on the screen. No label, no origin, just one word: Ember. He hadn't heard that name in over 20 years. Meanwhile, Kale sat alone in his quarters. He had copied Ari's file before it was sealed again by the system. Now he was reading it line by line, each word making his stomach feel tighter. Project Ember was not a school record. It was a military operation, Earth's final weapon program. The document said Earth had faced something long ago, a war that was never recorded in open history. Alien contact had turned violent. Earth's leadership had panicked. In secret, they authorized genetic experiments, not to create peace, to create survivors. Ari wasn't born like others. She was engineered, built from the DNA of humans and something else. A species not listed in the file, something unknown. Most of the test subjects had died. Only one survived. Designation: ARI-17. She had been put into deep sleep, hidden under false identity, placed into civilian programs to monitor her behavior. Kale whispered to himself. They were testing her in real life, like a weapon left in storage. A sudden beep interrupted his thoughts. Incoming message. No sender. No ID. He tapped it open. The screen turned black. Then words appeared in white. Stop searching. You're not ready to know. Kale stood up, heart racing. Who is this? More words appeared. You saw enough. Now choose a side. Before he could reply, the screen shut off on its own. Burned out. Dead. Elsewhere in the academy, Ari walked through the lower levels, alone. No guards blocked her. No teachers stopped her. She moved like she belonged there, as if her brain already knew the layout. She turned a corner and stopped at a sealed door. No sign, no number, just metal and silence. She placed her hand on the surface. It scanned her palm and opened. No one else had access, but somehow, she did. Inside the room was a forgotten lab, dusted equipment, old pods, and one flickering screen. Ari walked in and turned on the lights. The lab came alive. Screens lit up. DNA charts, muscle test videos, memory logs. All hers. One old video played by itself. A recording from when she was a child. A small girl, barely able to speak, lifting a 400 kilos block with one hand. Another clip showed her punching through steel. Another, running faster than a military drone. And one last clip. Her in a rage, screaming, destroying an entire test room. She stared at it for a long time. Then a voice spoke behind her. "You shouldn't be here." It was Kale. She didn't turn. And yet here we are. "I saw your file," he said. "Project Ember, Hybrid X. You're not just human." She looked at him now, her eyes calm again but tired. "Do you think I wanted this?" Kale shook his head. "No, but they made you for war." Ari walked to a chair and sat down. "They made me to win a war they already lost." Kale walked closer. "Why send you to this academy?" "Maybe they hoped I'd stay quiet. Maybe they forgot what they built," she said. "But Professor Varn, he triggered something. His words. His hate. Something inside me woke up." Kyle sat across from her. "What now?" She leaned back and closed her eyes. "I'm not sure. But I think I remember more every hour. It's like my brain is unlocking." Kyle looked around. The lab. "They erased you from history. There's nothing about this project in any database." "That's how you hide your greatest mistake," she replied. "You pretend it never happened." Suddenly, the room's lights flickered. Both of them turned toward the door. A red light appeared on the wall. "System breach detected. Unauthorized presence." Then a voice, robotic, low, cold, filled the room. "Subject Ari, you are now classified as a Tier 1 threat. Surrender. Immediately." Ari stood up slowly. They finally noticed. Kale looked scared. "They're coming." "Yes," she said, "but I'm not hiding anymore." She walked to the wall and opened a locker. Inside was a small case, old, dusty but secure. She opened it. Inside was a glove, thin black with glowing veins. She put it on. Kyle stared. "What is that?" She looked at her hand. "My past. My defense. My truth." Outside the room, heavy footsteps echoed. Security bots. Drones. Fully armed. Kyle turned to Ari. "If you fight them, I don't want to fight," she said, "but I won't run either." The door started to unlock. Kale stepped in front of her. "Then let me help." Ari looked surprised. "Why?" "Because I don't think you're the weapon," he said. "I think you're the warning." She gave him a small nod. The door opened, and the war began. The door exploded open. Smoke poured into the lab, followed by red lights and loud metal steps. 2 heavy security bots entered, tall as trees, their arms turned into blasters. Behind them stood 6 armored soldiers, elite academy enforcers. They
had one order: capture subject Ari. Use force if needed.
Ari stepped forward slowly. Calm. Focused. Beside her, Kale raised his hands. "Wait, she hasn't attacked anyone else. You don't have to." A warning shot blasted the ground near his feet. "Stand down," one of the soldiers shouted. Ari's eyes narrowed. Her memory was still returning, images of training, weapons, pain, and escape drills. These soldiers weren't like the ones in her memories. They were slow. She took one step forward. "Final warning," another bot said. "Surrender or face termination," Ari whispered. "They still think I'm afraid." She raised her gloved hand. The black glove came alive. Glowing veins lit up, pulsing like a heartbeat. The air around her shifted. The bots locked onto her, preparing to fire. But before they could, she moved, too fast. In less than a second, Ari was beside the first bot. She jumped, twisted midair, and slammed her gloved fist into its chest. The impact made a deep metallic crack. The bot flew backward, crashing through the wall behind it. Everyone froze, even Kale. The second bot reacted, firing a stun blast. Ari spun around it and kicked upward. The blast missed. She grabbed the bot's weapon arm and ripped it off with one powerful pull. Sparks flew everywhere. The soldiers panicked. "She's not human." Ari turned toward them. One fired, but she raised her gloved hand and a strange energy field blocked the blast. The glove wasn't just armor, it was tech from the old war. Something Earth never shared. Cal shouted from behind, "Don't kill them!" Ari didn't. Instead, she moved fast and hit each soldier with controlled strikes, arms, legs, weapons, disabling without breaking bones. In less than a minute, it was over. 6 soldiers lay on the ground, breathing but not moving. The 2 bots were down. Kale stepped forward, eyes wide. "How did you remember how to fight like that?" "I didn't remember," she said, breathing steady. "My body did." Then the room's alarm changed, a deeper tone. A robotic voice echoed through every hallway in the academy. "Subject Ember 17 has reached threat level red. Emergency lockdown activated. Evacuate all civilians. Prepare counterforce." Elsewhere in the control tower, Commander Raoul stood silently. He had watched the full footage of the fight. His eyes were cold, filled with regret. "She wasn't supposed to wake up," he said. A young officer behind him asked, "What is she?" Raoul didn't answer for a long time. Then finally, he spoke. "She was Earth's final gamble, a living weapon wrapped in a child's skin. They buried her in plain sight because they were afraid of what she'd become. Do we destroy her?" Raoul looked out the window toward the academy grounds. "If we can." Back in the broken lab, Ari stood over the fallen enemies. She looked at Kale. "They'll send more, stronger ones." He nodded. "Then we need to run." Ari turned to the back of the lab, a sealed tunnel, hidden under metal panels. She remembered it now. "There's a way out. Not to escape," she said. "To go deeper." "Deeper?" Kale asked. "To the core, where they built me." Kyle helped her move the panels. A long, dark tunnel appeared, old, forgotten. Before they entered, Kyle looked back. Why would they hide all this under a school? Ari answered without turning around. "Because monsters make good students, until they remember they're monsters." They stepped into the tunnel. As the metal door closed behind them, the Izar Academy above filled with sirens and fear. Drones were launched, heavy units powered up. The AI activated new protocols, ones never used before. The hunt had begun. But deep below in the tunnels of the forgotten lab, the truth was waiting. Hidden technology, lost history, and something even Ari didn't fully understand. Something older than war, something that might not want her to remember. But it was too late. She was already awake. The tunnel was long, dark, and cold. Ari moved quietly, her steps steady. Kyle followed behind her, breathing hard. The only light came from the glowing veins on her glove, pulsing blue in the shadows. "This place doesn't feel like a school anymore," Kale whispered. "That's because it's not," Ari said. "It never was, not completely." The tunnel led downward, turning into stairs made of metal and stone. Strange symbols were carved into the walls, not in any human language. Kyle noticed them and paused. "These don't look Earth-made." "They're not," Ari said. "They're from the other half of me." Kyle frowned. "You mean the alien DNA?" Ari nodded. "The part they don't understand. The part they feared most." They reached a heavy door, sealed shut with old tech, glowing, with faded green lights. Ari placed her hand on the scanner. It responded instantly, unlocking with a soft click. The door slid open. Behind it was a massive underground chamber. Silent, abandoned, and in the center, a large glass tank filled with dark blue liquid. Inside it floated something strange. A second glove just like Ari's but brighter, It pulsed like it was alive. Kale stepped forward. What is that? Ari stared at it, breathing deeply. The other piece, the one they couldn't control. Screens on the walls lit up as they entered. A voice recording began to play, an old scientist's voice. This is Project Ember. Log 92. Subject ARI-17 has shown signs of memory return. Combat skills activated under emotional stress. The secondary unit, Ember Gauntlet 2, remains unstable. It reacts to the subject's presence. The recording stopped. Kyle looked at Ari. It reacts to you. She walked closer to the tank. The second glove inside glowed brighter as she came near. Her own glove pulsed in response, like a signal had been activated. Suddenly the ground shook. Ari turned. They're here. Back at the Academy surface, Commander Ral had launched full lockdown. Dozens of drones, warbots, and high-grade enforcers were sent underground through secondary shafts. He watched their progress on a screen. Target is entering the Ember Core, one officer reported. Ral said nothing. He just whispered, "Let's see if she remembers what she really is." Down below, the chamber's doors slammed shut. A voice echoed from hidden speakers. "Ari Novar, you were never meant to return here. This place is restricted. You will be neutralized." Ari didn't flinch. "I was born here. This is mine." From hidden walls, old training drones activated, small, fast, and sharp. They swarmed into the room like a wave of metal bees. Kyle stepped back. "There's too many." Ari stepped in front of him. "Then let's see what I can really do." She raised her gloved hand and slammed it into the ground. A shockwave exploded from her fist. A ring of blue energy knocked back the first wave of drones. Sparks flew, metal crashed, but more were coming. The second glove inside the tank started, shaking. It was trying to reach her. Kale shouted, "Break the tank!" Ari ran toward it. A drone blocked her path. She jumped, twisted in midair, and punched straight through it. She reached the tank and touched the glass. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the tank shattered. Blue liquid poured out, and the second glove floated into her hand. As soon as she put it on, the lights in the chamber flickered. Every drone in the room paused, and just for 1 second, and that was enough. Ari raised both hands. The gloves began to glow, brighter than before. Sparks of energy floated in the air. She moved faster now, more powerful. She punched, kicked, dodged. Every strike hit harder than before. The gloves amplified her, not just physically, but mentally too. Her mind felt clearer. Memories returned in flashes. She wasn't just a fighter. She was a weapon system, built from Earth's desperation and alien design. The last drone dropped to the floor, fried and broken. Silence returned to the chamber. Kale looked at her amazed. "You're not even the same person anymore." Ari looked at her hands. "I'm still me, just not the version they expected." But the peace didn't last. The chamber doors began to open again. This time, not to drones. Heavy footsteps echoed from the hallway. Kale looked toward the sound. "That's not a bot." "No," Ari said. "It's worse." From the shadows stepped a tall figure in black armor, his helmet covered in red lights. He moved like a soldier, but had a strange energy around him. Not human. Not fully. Kyle whispered, "Who is that?" Ari's voice was low and cold. "The first test subject, the one who didn't die." The armored figure spoke at last. "I remember you, Ember 17. You were the last hope. I was the first mistake." Ari stepped forward. "Then let's finish what they started." The chamber was quiet. Ari stood still, both gloves glowing. Her eyes locked on the black armored figure walking toward her. Kyle stood behind her, frozen in place. The air felt heavy, like the room was holding its breath. The figure stopped a few meters away. "You don't remember me, do you?" he asked, his voice low and rough. Ari didn't blink. "I remember pieces. A failed prototype." They said, "He lost control." The man chuckled darkly. "They didn't tell you the full truth. I didn't lose control. I escaped it. Kyle stepped forward carefully. Who are you? The man turned his head slowly. Name doesn't matter. They called. Me Project Zero, the first hybrid. The unfinished weapon! His armor hissed. Blue lights ran through his arms and legs. Unlike Ari, his body looked more machine than human. The skin around his neck was pale and cracked like old glass. They tried to destroy me, he said. Buried me down here alone in the dark, but I survived. I evolved. Ari's voice was cold. Then why are you working for them? I'm not, he replied. I'm working for something bigger. A strange humming sound filled the air. Kale looked around. What's that noise? The chamber lights flickered again. Then one wall slid open, revealing a deep tunnel with strange green lights inside. Project Zero pointed toward it. Down there is the true core. The first contact zone, the reason they built you, the truth they buried. Ari narrowed her eyes. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to see it, he said. I want you to understand what we really are. Not heroes, not weapons. We're keys to something ancient, something alien that never left. Kyle whispered. This is getting worse. Project Zero looked at Ari. Come with me. Learn what they kept from you. And if I don't? She asked. He raised one arm, energy building in his palm. Then I break you and drag what's left. In one blink, he attacked. Ari blocked his strike with both gloves, the impact sending a shockwave through the chamber. Sparks exploded. Kale was thrown off his feet. Ari jumped back, landing on a broken console. He's faster than the bots. Zero moved again. This time his arm turned into a blade. He slashed at her, but she ducked and countered with a double punch. He flew back but landed on his feet like nothing had happened. You hit harder than I remember, he said. Good. Ari charged again, using both gloves to generate a blast of energy. It hit him in the chest, cracking his armor. He growled, but didn't fall. Kale shouted, Ari! His weak point, left shoulder, I saw sparks. She adjusted her stance and threw a high kick followed by a punch directly at his shoulder. Metal cracked. He staggered, then roared and slammed the ground. The chamber shook. The floor broke beneath Ari and Kale. A hidden shaft opened up, and they fell. Down, into darkness. When they landed, the place was colder, quieter, different. Kyle groaned, sitting up. Where are we? Ari stood slowly. Her gloves flickered but stayed online. She looked around. They had landed in a new level of the facility, but this wasn't a lab. It was a chamber full of pods, huge, tall, with bodies inside, some human, some not. Kyle looked closely at one. These aren't students. They're clones, Ari whispered. Test subjects from before me, failed ones. A screen turned on above them. An old video played. A general stood at a table speaking to a group of scientists. We are not ready for what's coming. We must combine human survival with alien adaptability. Build something stronger, faster, no fear, no emotion, only instinct. Kyle looked at Ari. They weren't making heroes. They were making soldiers for a second alien war. Ari walked through the rows of pods. Some of the bodies were frozen in time, eyes half open, faces filled with pain. She stopped at one pod. Inside was a girl who looked exactly like her. Kyle gasped. Is that you? Ari shook her head. No. Another copy. They made more. I was just the one that lasted. Behind them, Project Zero dropped down into the room, landing hard. Told you, he said. You were never chosen, you were just stable. Ari turned to face him. Then why help me see this? Because the ones who made us don't matter anymore, Zero said. The ones who called Earth are coming back. Kyle's eyes widened. Wait, the aliens? The war? Zero nodded. The real reason you were made. They're on their way. Ari's gloves glowed again. Then we stopped them. Project Zero's voice was calm. No. We joined them. The room went silent. Then, far above them, a new sound echoed through the underground. A siren they had never heard before. Incoming threat detected. Orbital entry in progress. Kale looked up. There, here, Ari's fist tightened. Then Earth is out of time. The warning siren echoed through the tunnels. Orbital entry in progress. Prepare for surface impact. Kyle stared at the ceiling like he could see the sky through it. They're really coming. Ari stood still, her glowing gloves pulsing faster than ever, reacting to something above. Her heartbeat matched the rhythm. The air felt heavier now, filled with fear and purpose. Across the room, Project Zero looked calm. I told you, he said, stepping forward. They never left. They just waited, until Earth forgot, until the weapons were ready. Kyle backed away. You knew this would happen? I was made to survive it, Zero said. So were you, Ember 17. We are their answer to the war. Ari's voice was cold. No, we're their mistake. Suddenly the ground shook, a deep tremor that came from the surface above. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Lights flickered. From far above, the sky cracked open. Something massive was entering Earth's orbit. Ari looked up. We need to get back to the surface. Zero raised a hand. You can't stop them. Earth isn't ready, but we could be. Gods, if we joined them. She stepped closer, her eyes full of fire. I'm not here to rule, I'm here to end this. Zero's face hardened. Then you've chosen death. With a roar, he attacked, faster than ever before. Ari met him, mid-air. Their fists clashed, sending waves of energy through the room. Sparks flew. The glowing pods shattered around them as they fought. Kale ducked for cover, shouting Ari's name. Punch after punch, blow after blow. The underground chamber cracked apart. Zero's blade arm slashed across her side. She winced, blood running down. But she didn't stop. Her gloves glowed brighter, now, burning white-blue like lightning. She shouted, You were built to follow orders. I was built to break them. And she struck. A final blast from both hands hit Zero directly in the chest. His armor cracked. His body slammed into the all ate hard. He slid down, barely breathing. The red lights in his eyes faded. It wasn't supposed to be you, he whispered. Ari stood above him. But it was. Suddenly, the wall behind her lit up. A hidden elevator, old but still working, activated. A voice echoed. Emergency. Surface access unlocked. Final protocol engaged. Ari grabbed Kale's hand. Let's finish this. They stepped into the elevator. As it rose, the shaking grew worse. Ari looked at Kale. You don't have to come. Kale smiled. I do. When they reached the surface, the academy was gone, buried in smoke and fire. The sky above burned, with strange orange light. A massive alien ship hovered over the city, casting a shadow like a mountain. People ran, screamed. Military jets flew past, firing missiles that vanished into the ship's shield. Ari stepped forward. The gloves began to pulse, responding to the ship above like it recognized her. Kyle looked up. What now? Ari didn't speak. She felt the signal, a voice inside her head. Not words, just emotion. Recognition. The ship knew her. It was calling her back, but she refused. She raised both hands toward the sky. The gloves lit up like stars. Energy flowed into the sky, cutting through clouds, breaking through the shield around the alien ship. A voice echoed in her mind. Alien, ancient, afraid. You reject us? Her voice was steady. I'm not yours. I'm Earth's. And with a final shout, she unleashed everything. A beam of white-blue energy shot into the sky. The gloves burned, cracked, glowed brighter. The ship above shuddered. Systems failing, lights dimming. Pieces broke off. It began to fall. Kale pulled her back as the ship exploded mid-air, lighting up the sky like a second sun. The shockwave knocked them down, but it was over. Silence followed. Dust floated in the air. The city stared at the broken sky, stunned. Ari stood slowly, her gloves now dark and cracked, smoking. Her hands shook, but she was alive. Kyle stood beside her. "You did it." She looked at the sky, where the ship had been. "No," she whispered. "We did." Behind them, the academy lay in ruins. But something new had started. News would spread. People would ask questions. The truth about Project Ember, about Ari, about Earth's secret war, it would all come out. But for now, Ari walked away. A quiet girl no more. She had saved the world, and this time the world would remember her name.